Welcome back to r/neighbors from hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors. And if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community. And without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. The first one is titled Entitled Neighbor Gets in Trouble Part 1. This is a long one, but I hope it is worth it. I get a frantic call from my neighbor Dean, who lives right behind me at 1:30, saying something about the city being there and needing to talk to me. Slight backstory, his neighbor is a Karen of the worst kind. She will call the city if the grass is above half an inch above city rules, called the city on me for having chickens in my backyard. I didn't know I was not supposed to have them at the time, the neighbor city allowed it. Dean himself is an awesome guy who has known my wife since birth. He is in his 70s, a retired Navy veteran, worked on F4, became a F-14 plane captain. The sort of head guy who makes sure all maintenance is done right. I have known him for the past 15 years, a really good guy, lots of fun stories. He had received a letter from the city the previous Monday that the roof on his shed did not meet city standards and either had to replace the roof or demolish it. Last Friday I got on the Orange store site, ordered all the material for me to fix the roof. Typically, he would jump in with me and we would both handle things. He is a fit sob, but he just got diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer. He is tired all the time. Me in my 40s, no problem. Dean, I got this. I'm a capable carpenter. At 1:30, I tell my supervisor I gotta go, neighbor is having issues. I get there at 1:50 since I am close by. I get out of my truck with all the gear from the construction company I work for. The company I work for is a multi-million-dollar development company. And then Karen starts. Karen, that is him, he is the one doing the work, with an evil grin. In my city, if you replace a roof on your house over 100 square feet, you need a permit that even a homeowner can pull for a shed. However, you don't need a permit unless you're charging money or a contractor. I see a zoning guy, ZG, and 2 building inspectors, 1 senior, SI, 1 junior, JI. Senior inspector sees me. Senior inspector, do you work with Vicky? Me, yeah. Why? Senior inspector, don't worry, what's your name? Me, Mark. What makes you think that you can do roofing without a permit? I mean, with everything I see here, you're probably charging a pretty penny. Karen, he started Saturday, so he could avoid you guys and make more money. That's how these guys work. Me, I am helping Dean out. Phone rings. I have to take this, it's one of my bosses. Vicky is calling me as I called her and check on stuff, knowing full well $1 million company would not be doing a shed roof for just some old guy. Vicky is a Virginia Tech graduate who became a supervisor right out of school. We have worked on projects 5 years ago when all she was is book smart. She is a lot younger than I am and had a rough start because she thought she needed to show dominance. She didn't, but she did have to learn real quick that paper doesn't always go as planned. Her dad is the head structural engineer that all city inspectors have to follow, and he is well liked by all inspectors. So all inspectors know her. I was with Vicky when I ordered the material on Friday. She wanted to know what was up, and in a nutshell, I told her that Karen was being a bee and causing trouble. She goes not for long, back at Junior. So what is the value of the contract? Karen, yeah, how much are you charging? Me, nothing, so I guess 0? Junior, what do you mean 0? That's all brand new material. Me, oh, material was $700, but Dean purchased it. Here's the receipt with his name on it. Karen, you cannot hide all the money you're charging. Look at all the air hoses and nail guns with big brand name saws. What's your point? Senior inspector gets a text, looks at it real quick. Mark, where do you live? Me, right there, pointing out the house behind. Senior inspector, so I will take it that you're really close to homeowner Dean since you have a gate going through it. Me, yes sir, especially since Dean got diagnosed with cancer, I've been checking on him a little bit more. Then he got the letter stating he has to fix it. I'm just trying to take off some stress off the old fart. Senior inspector, roger that. In this case, it's as if one of his children did it. Karen, what does that mean? Senior inspector, it means if Mark is not charging him, no matter what tools he owns, he doesn't need a permit. Karen,
I had to pay $3,500 to get my garage done 3 months ago, and he gets off just paying $700.
Senior Inspector:
Yep. Mark, do you mind if I take a look at your work?
Me: Sure you can. He jumps up on the roof and calls ZG. After the virus, every inspector has been equipped with iPads so they can do virtual inspections. This iPad is also connected to all city property, as in what permits got pulled and what not, and he brought his with him on the roof. Senior Inspector:
Looks pretty solid.
Me: Yep. Had to change plywood and replace a couple of 2x4s. Senior Inspector:
Is that a pond next door?
Sure does.
Did you do a site visit for a pond, ZG?
ZG:
I sure didn't.
Did you do a site visit for the roof on the garage?
Sure looks like 500 square feet.
Oh, that concrete back there looks pretty fresh. Me: Yep, she had it done in May. With an evil grin since I figured out the game. Senior Inspector:
Let me get some pictures of all of this.
We get off the roof.
Junior, what's the penalty for altering and remodeling a roof without a permit?
$50 per 100 square feet, plus all new work must be torn down and re-inspected, sir.
Karen: Is that what you found on Dean's roof? Because of the repairs he's getting all that.
Evil grin is back, looking at me. Senior Inspector:
Junior, what's the penalty for pouring concrete without checking with zoning and without a permit?
Junior Inspector: $200 per 100 square feet, sir. All has to be demo and check with watershed. Karen:
But there's no concrete here.
Senior Inspector:
Junior, what's the penalty for a pond over 1,500 gallon without checking with zoning or building permit?
Karen's face went pale, no more grin. Junior Inspector: Huh? I don't know. Zoning guy:
I do. $75 for electrical connections without permit, plus 1,500 a day that the pond is there without permission.
And since it is up against a fence, there is a 10 feet watershed water easement for water to perk there, so it's not going to happen even with a variance. The pond, by the way, is 16 feet by 16 feet triangle shaped.
Karen: You're not supposed to look at my yard. You're here for his yard. Do you know who I am? I know Melon. He's your boss. He will fix all you.
Senior Inspector:
Yeah, I know Melon too. He got fired 2 months ago for taking bribes. So we have a new boss, Karen, and she is a by the book trying to clean up Melon's mess.
Karen, leaving:
I cannot believe this crap. That's not how it's supposed to go, damn it.
I am laughing a little bit too loud. Update number 1. I am working with Vicky this morning. The call that SI did was to see if this was just side money. She confirmed that no, it was not, that I was in fact helping free of charge, and if I needed any company assistance, that I would get it. After Vicky called me, she sent a text to SI and she showed me. It read: Make the BITCH pay. And really, ripe stars, I gotta say, what I still don't understand is why some people, and especially entitled neighbors, just cannot mind their own business. Why do some people always need to get involved in someone else's affairs? Either these people have too much time on their hands, or they just wish bad things on others. Have you ever dealt with such a busybody neighbor? If you did, please let us know in the comments or on r/ripe stories on Reddit. In addition, I would really appreciate it if you could post some star emojis in the comments if you want to support the channel. Thank you so much in advance. The next one is an update to the first story, and it is titled Entitled Neighbor Gets in Trouble Part 2 Karma Update. So I finished Dean's roof on Wednesday, my deadline was Friday. Couple of mechanical failures and rain stopped me from finishing on Tuesday. He had zoning inspection on Thursday and everything passed, so he doesn't have to demolish the shed. Zoning guy noticed that the water is no longer running in the waterfall feature in the neighbor's pond, but it is still standing, so add another $1,500 for the day. Now, today I was working doing odds and ends getting ready for the next week, and I get a phone call from the president of the company named Jack, aka Jay. Me: Hi Jack, what did I do wrong this time? Usually he calls me that I smoke too much or drink too much coffee, or that I am too hard on the subcontractor and need to back off. Jay:
Mr. Mark, for once you haven't, but I've heard you have an interesting neighbor.
Me: Oh, you spoke to Vicky?
Jay: No, not really. We had a meeting with the city about the 30-acre Centurion project and Karen was there.
Here is what happened. Neighbor N decided that she would pay this new head inspector a visit on Wednesday. She didn't just nonchalantly walk in there, but she marched in with authority.
Neighbor, aka N. How dare you, Inspector, inspect my property when they are responding to a gross violation that I reported on Dean's shed? You need to remove these citations immediately. Karen.
Okay, hey, my name is Karen. What is your name?
Neighbor. I'm Neighbor. Now, what are you going to do about these? Throwing 4 pieces of paper at Karen. Karen looks at the paperwork. Karen.
Let me call SI to see what this is about.
Neighbor. I thought you had authority here. Melon would have cleared it already. Karen.
Yes, but Melon is no longer here, is he?
Senior Inspector fills her in on what happened on Monday. Karen.
Yeah, looks like there's some serious fixing to do.
Neighbor, that's what I thought. Is there a stamp or are you writing an exemption? Karen.
Well, not really. See, the 10-foot egress that behind you is part of the Chesapeake Bay watershed and is in fact very bad that you put concrete there.
Neighbor, what does that mean? Karen.
I'll have to send another inspector to assess the damage you have done.
Neighbor, all this because Mark professionally did the work at my neighbor's house. Karen.
Mark happens to work for company I work for and did the roof as caretaker of Dean, as stated by SI.
Neighbor stormed out. Today when I got home there was a small excavator with a demolition hammer attached to it. When my boss told me about this, I was laughing hysterically with tears coming down my face. Chesapeake Bay easements are monitored and inspected by the EPA. We know this because we had to pay quite a few fines from them. I might have more updates afterwards. And the next one is a final update on the entitled Neighbor story. I spoke to Dean on Wednesday but was too busy with the week. Kinda glad I got busy since I can wrap things up with 2 conversations. Wednesday conversation, me, hey Dean, how's it going? Dean, I'm doing better than the witch next door, I tell ya. Me, what happened? Grinning ear to ear. Dean, well, a government car pulled up on Monday while they were working in her backyard. It didn't go so well. Me, let me guess, EPA? Dean, you betcha! And they stopped all the work since the escalator busted a hydraulic line. She was outside screaming at everyone she could and then some. She cussed out the inspector like he was a red-headed stepchild. He told her to shut the hell up or cops were going to be dealing with her. She personally rented an excavator from Big Green Place with a star and had her son and beer buddy doing the work on removing the concrete. So this is the update from the Dean story, but not quite till today. The entitled neighbor, EN, came over to visit me. I'm in the front yard splitting wood. Yes, winter is coming, and it is $200 a month cheaper for me to burn wood stove than gas and electric bill. Entitled neighbor,
you did this.
Me, what are you talking about? EN,
I have thousands of dollars in fines now from the city because of you.
Me, I'm pretty sure that's not how it goes, but if it makes you feel better, okay with me. EN,
if city wasn't enough, you all had to get the EPA into this.
Me, what's your point, lady? EN shows me paperwork from EPA.
They ridiculously charged me with concrete over watershed drainage, disturbing soil in runoff with no silt fence, oil spill on soil of runoff, not having an oil spilled kit, and not having an environmental plan approved by Chesapeake Bay Foundation. I've got to pay all this because some redneck like you put the city to it.
They don't mess around with those fines, huh? Concrete over watershed drainage without approval, $175,000, 1,200 square feet were covered. Disturbing soil with no silt fence, $50,000, oil leak from any machinery, $25,000, no spill kit, $25,000, not having proper planning by Chesapeake Bay Foundation, $50,000. Me, I'm pretty sure you should blame whoever called the city on Dean's shed. They are the ones who blew this up. EN,
no they didn't. If Dean would have pulled the permits like he should have done, none of this would have happened.
Me, Dean did not have to pull the permits on his shed. That's a null point established by Senior Inspector. So what is next then? EN,
I'm going to have to sell the house to cover all the fines.
Me handing back the paperwork with the evilest smile I could muster. Well, I guess I can start singing Ding Dong the Witch is Gone, huh? EN,
it is not over. I will call my lawyer tomorrow.
Me, go for it. Don't think that's going to work out the way you think it is. So, for the count of being a pain in the ass, she has got $325,000 worth of fines plus the city fines. Her house value is about $275,000. I'm not an attorney, but I don't think bankruptcy is going to wipe this out. If she gets an attorney, it might get cut 50% at best if she can prove she was unaware of what she was doing. As far as her suing me, there is a fat chance of that happening. I was not involved in any of it, and she would have to prove payment to me to make anything stick. Update: I had to work with Vicky again today. I got her up to speed with what was happening with the neighbor. She laughed to the point that she almost peed herself a little. Apparently, Head Inspector Karen's husband works for the EPA, in charge of erosion control is what she told me. Best hour of work to start the day laughing with the other guys. And ripe stars, I would say the moral of the story is that it can be much cheaper for you if you keep your nose out of other people's business. Otherwise, you might end up needing to sell your house to cover huge fines. The next one was posted by user MayaWood91 on our own subreddit r/ripe stories, and it is titled, "I hired a crook? That's your fault, fix it or I will sue." My friend 32 male is a by-law enforcement officer for a small township and its surrounding rural areas. He was very excited 6 years ago when he was hired, as he felt it would allow him to make a difference serving his community. Well, after 6 years of entitled people, nightmare neighbors, petty people, and thousands of complaints about fences being too tall or dogs being too loud, he is a little jaded. Anyways, since by-law enforcement officer BEO is my friend, we swap work stories at the pub on Wednesday nights. This particular story is from 3 years ago, 2018, and involves a shady contractor, Shady, a second incompetent contractor, aka idiot, and an entitled father, EF. Shady was a young builder/contractor looking for easy work. My province/state recently updated the rules for home builders, and now builders must complete a sort of skills test to ensure that they are competent. And also understand the basic building code requirements to ensure the life safety of buildings and structures. Shady failed this test a few times, so he decided to corner the fence retaining wall, driveway pouring, and deck market, some of which still have code requirements. EF hired Shady to build a retaining wall and fence, hoping that this would help him make a flat usable side/backyard that his children could play in. Apparently, Shady contacted the township's inspector to ask about permits and building requirements, but decided that it would be too expensive to follow the township's regulations. Shady allegedly told EF that the wall and fence were exempt from township permits and started building a shoddy wall. Shady was counting on no one complaining about his work, but what he failed to realize is that a public trail abutted EF's side yard and people noticed. BEO and the township inspector issued a stop work order which effectively shut down Shady's building project. Shady took what money he had been paid in advance and cut communication with EF. And this is where the story gets interesting. EF was enraged that the township allowed Shady to operate without permits and demanded that the inspector finishes the work to make things right. BEO tried to explain that Shady had allegedly been told that there were no exemptions, but EF would not hear it. EF let his wall stand unfinished for about 4 months until his insurance company told him that he had to fix it or risk lose coverage. Something about liability given the public trail. After threatening to sue the township and being met with "go for it," EF decided to obtain permits to complete the wall and fence. Apparently, retaining walls under 4 feet in height don't need to be signed off by an engineer, but Shady had built a 12-foot tall rock wall adjacent the public trail with loose boulders. EF was enraged at finding out that he needed to hire a specialized engineer to design and certify the wall, and even more so when that engineer found that the wall was unsafe and needed to be removed and rebuilt, but did so after much protesting. EF hired another contractor and builder to construct the wall and again went for the cheapest option and hired an incompetent contractor, Idiot, to do the work. Idiot took the plans and followed them to ensure that the wall was safe. However, Idiot decided to skip a step and did not bother having a surveyor confirm the location of the property lines. When Idiot was finished and EF called the township inspector to issue a record of permit completion, the inspector noticed that the 6-meter wide public trail adjacent to the wall had shrunk to 2.5 meters. The wall failed and the township ordered its removal. EF looked at options to purchase the trail, but those options were not ones that would be quick and may not result in success. EF finally hired a competent contractor and builder who did everything by the book. Third time's the charm, I guess. Apparently EF tried to sue the township, but his lawyer told him he was crazy to do so and they went after Shady and Idiot instead. Moral of the story: hire cheap help, expect cheap work, and always fact check your contractor by speaking to the BEO. And ripe stars, with this we have unfortunately reached the end of today's video. However, if you cannot get enough of my stories, then I would highly suggest you to check out my endless binge watch playlist, which will show up at any moment in the left corner of the screen, which includes over 1000 ripe stories. In addition, if you would like to share one of your own stories, then please head on over to r/ripe stories on Reddit, where you can post your own story and there is a good chance that I might read it in a video. In addition, please also check out my Patreon at patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more than 50 exclusive Reddit videos that you won't find on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, your daily support is very much appreciated, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.